We asked 4 pressing questions posed by investors to some of the top investment advisors in the country. Here is where these experts view the risks and opportunities in today's markets. Which regions around the world do you feel have the most upside potential over the next 12 months? Which regions do you feel present the most risk?
The regions we like globally on a risk-adjusted basis center around Europe. With their regulatory structure and solid financing, we think that they have the potential to upside surprise in terms of equity returns. Where we would still continue to steer clear are emerging markets and those that are really centered and tied to China because they have not figured out their domestic imbalances just yet.
The regions that I believe have the most upside potential over the next 12 months would be those countries that either aren't subject to a tariff or are actually a net exporter of inflation into the United States on the tariffs, and would include countries such as India, regions such as certain sectors of South America, more specifically Argentina, and also Europe.
I do think what's going on here in the U.S. Is going to create a long-term trajectory of a kind of a condensing of that gap that the U.S. has enjoyed. I've kind of focused a little bit more on India. I just do think with their rising middle-class population as well as kind of a growing education system and also what Apple's already done with them, I think there's some nice opportunity there. But I do think the world's been put on notice that, while the U.S. is still on number one, there might be a less reliant move towards that, which will create that kind of, gap between the two.
I'd look again into the U.S. and I circle back to the AI wave that has started to happen and I think will continue to happen. I also think Southeast Asia has some possibilities as people try to decouple from China as their main source of manufacturing, so moving into a Vietnam or somewhere else might be helpful. Some areas that might have some risk, China might be one of them. The economy's slowing down a little bit, and if people are moving their manufacturing elsewhere to decouple, that can be a problem for them. Europe, I think, is also slowing, and their energy independence could be an issue.
From a valuation perspective, and just to use the word of uncertainty, what's going on in the U.S., while it's not necessarily my base case, I do think there's a lot of risk of how it's going to play out. If you're a CEO of a company, it's hard to plan investments when you really don't know what you're planning for.
The most risk over the next 12 months are mostly the Asia-Pacific Rim countries where most of our offshoring has been happening in terms of manufacturing.